This is Richard Napier for the Siebel Hub. It's Thursday in San Francisco of OpenWorld 2016, and it's my very great pleasure to be here with George Jacob. George, how are you doing?
Doing well, thanks, Richard. Tired, but it's been a long week as always, but good to be here.
Good to be here with you too. I thought we'd take a few minutes just to talk about some of the key messages that our readers should take away from the big event this year. And like every year, there are some recurring messages that we can begin to pick up when we go to the sessions. And what for you are the key things that Siebel customers and Siebel consultants need to take away from OpenWorld 2016?
Sure. Richard, there's probably a couple of things that I'd call out, a couple of big themes. One that we're investing heavily in, which is essentially moving Siebel to the cloud programming model, if I can call it that. It's focused on agility, it's focused on a whole set of different things, going from installation, the first installation of the Siebel image, to developing on it through Siebel Composer, automated testing, deployment, dynamic configuration of the running system, metering through usage pattern tracking, and then feeding back through the next upgrade back into the next development cycle. So that focus on what we call business agility has variously been called total cost of ownership, which really, to give it credit, the cloud has brought to us in terms of a programming and a deployment management model, is our key focus. It is by virtue of us releasing Siebel in this year, early in March of this year with IP15 and in June with IP16, instances of Siebel in the Oracle Cloud Marketplace on the Oracle Infrastructure and Platform as a Service offerings is now becoming much more real for us. So the major movement forward since last year's OpenWorld, where we didn't even, for the most part, anticipate, or certainly were working on it in the background, but didn't anticipate that we'd put it together so quickly. That's the major change. And the movement to the Oracle Infrastructure and Platform as Service clouds have accelerated the business agility aspects within Siebel, or our focus on business agility, as I like to call it, the cloud programming model. The second thing, which is less probably in terms of our emphasis right now, but we believe is the driving direction for all applications probably, we sort of subtitled it the automation imperative. It's driven by the recognition that increasingly interactions that are important to an organization of their customers are happening either in social networks, which are not trackable easily manually, or at least in some industries we're starting to see emergence of the so-called Internet of Things. The automotive industry in particular seems very excited about it. We've had some Siebel customers, including one on Siebel 7.7, who've been doing some aspect of this for half a dozen years, but increasingly with more and more connected devices, both in terms of cars, homes, copiers, you name it. We're seeing a lot of interest now starting to spark with the Internet of Things, and that too drives us to think about how we will drive automation of the business processes within Siebel. So at some level, we see ourselves essentially automating, on the one hand, for all the people who install, develop, test, run Siebel, and on the other, people who are using Siebel for sales, for marketing, for commerce, for service, for across the automotive industry, the telecommunications industry, the financial services industry, and so on. So two dimensions, if you will, of automation. The first being more the focus on running and developing and upgrading and so on. The second is a little bit further behind, at least in terms of our we see customer adoption, but nevertheless the same coin, if you will, just the other side.
If we focus for a moment on this concept of moving to the cloud programming model,
sure.
Our readers are always looking for good showcases. So the companies that are already maybe ahead of the curve. We've seen a lot of customers show some really cool stories here this week. Are there any that really stick out for you, examples of people being ahead of the curve in terms of moving to this programming model?
Absolutely. We always I think one of the best things about OpenWorld is that we learn about how our products and applications and services are being used. And for me personally, that's the most exciting thing about being here, and of course meeting all the people who are doing fantastic things with our products. The one that sticks out in my mind this year is Equinix. Equinix, as you probably know, is a data center provider. They both Oracle and some of our competitors have used them for our respective cloud applications, to host our cloud applications where we didn't yet have data centers. Interestingly, and I was involved with Equinix. I have been involved for about 3 or 4 years now, and they were using a competing Salesforce automation product. And as they looked at the deeper things that they need to do around customer master management and order capture and management, they realized that that particular product was not, or even the partners, the other third-party products that were associated with it were not sufficient. And so what they found themselves doing is identifying, much to our delight, the best CRM product for those purposes, which is Siebel. And so they they're an instance of one of the things that we're seeing increasingly between Siebel and the Oracle CX applications, which is an integration of a cloud and an on-premise product, in particular Siebel. So what we're calling a hybrid model. We've seen that now with a number of Siebel customers between Siebel and our Oracle CX applications. But so Equinix was already a case of running a hybrid cloud environment, and in that they were the ones hosting some of these cloud environments. It made it particularly interesting as to determine whether that hybrid was more on-premise or more in the cloud. Recently, over the last year, and they presented at OpenWorld a couple of days ago, they talked about their move, or their evaluation, I should say, of Siebel in the Oracle Infrastructure as a Service Cloud. And the particular presentation that they had was focused on performance. They determined that for the most part, certainly for the costlier actions, their system actually ran faster with Siebel in the Oracle Infrastructure Service Cloud, connected to their on-premise back office applications, including Oracle E-Business Suite, than their on-premise version did. And so again, another nice little discovery, counterintuitive. So Equinix themselves, being a cloud provider, using Siebel as an on-premise software, is somewhat counterintuitive, and then the results from their performance test were also interesting. But I think that so on all three fronts, if you will, the usage of a company that's known in the cloud of on-premise software, the usage of which they've been doing for a number of years of a hybrid on-premise cloud environment, and then the discovery as they move part of their on-premise installation to the cloud, that it actually performs faster on the key longer actions than the on-premise.
It's fascinating because the hybrid notion is really not one size fits all. It's really, there's many definitions of what is hybrid, what is mostly on-premise, or are you really mostly cloud or mostly on-premise?
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Now, I realize this is not a radio show, but I actually have a question from one of our readers, long-time reader, first-time caller, I think they call it, and I'm sure you'll be the right man to answer this question, is the numbering of Siebel. The question is, will we ever reach Siebel 9, or will we need to get used to a different numbering system?
So the short answer is no.
Well, our caller will be happy with that answer.
a flippant answer might be if we live to 2109.
So rendezvous in 100 odd years for the AI version of Richard and George.
And the reason behind that, both those answers, is we have switched. We switched with the Innovation Pack 2013, what at the time was called 81110, to a year-based numbering system. We discovered, not to anyone's surprise, that the numbers of the innovation packs themselves, such as 81110, and then patch sets, since we've been doing monthly patch sets also since that particular release, became more and more complicated for people to track. And so the easiest thing, because most of us know which year we're in, was to switch to a year-based numbering. So while deep under the covers, there still is a version number that's 8.1 and 8.2 based. We are, for numbering purposes, completely going with a 15, 16, and so on. And hence, in 2109, we'll have rolled around to 9. But I think the other thing to call out there with the numbering is it's not the history of Siebel has obviously been going from Siebel 1, I guess, through more recently 6, 7, and 8, that the major digit represented a full upgrade. And philosophically, and again, I'll refer to the cloud programming model, we have all moved away to a much more agile and incremental approach. So with the original decision, even to stay with innovation packs based on 8.1 and 8.2, and that numbering system that tied most of us in knots, the underlying statement was that we are no longer doing full upgrades, we're only doing incremental upgrades. And that continues to be our commitment. And having done this now for 5 years, we are reasonably sure that certainly for the next 5 to 10 years, if not the next 100, we will be able to continue in this mode.
Well, George, as someone who started his Siebel career working on what we call Siebel 98, I do enjoy the synchronicity of the fact that we're now returning to a year-based model. George, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you,
Thanks very much. I'll see you again in 100 years, or hopefully next year.